Silence is not weakness. I learned to speak without a sound. When words would only shake the ground. Some truths don't need a crowd to stand. They live quiet in the hand. I watch the loud ones burn their fire, mistake the noise for something higher. I chose the weight of holding still, a calm that answers to my will. They said if you don't say it hurts, then maybe it was never real. But pain that stays behind the eyes is often harder to conceal. I don't announce the nights I've been, or count the times I almost fell. I gather strength in empty rooms where nothing asks me how I feel. Silence is not weakness, it's discipline in form. It's standing through the pressure without becoming the storm. It's knowing when to say nothing and let the moment pass. It's choosing not to break yourself just to prove you can collapse. I didn't lose my voice to fear, I set it down to understand. There's power in restraint when chaos wants to take command. I let my anger learn to wait. I taught my grief to breathe. Not every wound needs evidence. Not every truth needs to be seen. They think I carry nothing now because I don't explain the weight. But oceans don't describe their depth, they simply demonstrate. I don't need pity in my hands or comfort dressed as a vice. I learned survival isn't loud, it's measured, slow, precise. Silence is not weakness, it's armor worn inside. A language built of boundaries where dignity resides. It's letting go of proving things to people passing through. It's learning how to stand alone without becoming cruel. I don't confuse peace with escape or quiet with denial. I face the dark without an audience and stayed there for a while. Now when I speak, it means something, because I've learned to wait. My words are fewer, but they land because they carry weight. Silence is not weakness, it's strength that chose control. A man who didn't shout his pain, but mastered his own soul. There's an ashtray by the window, still warm from last night's thought. Smoke hanging in the silence from things I never fought. The city breathes below me like it knows what I've become. Every lie tells a story, but none of them are mine. I don't curse your name out loud, I don't beg the dark to listen, I just let the hours pass like they owe me no forgiveness. Coffee's cold, the clock keeps moving. Walls remember what I don't say. I learned how to look unbroken by breaking in quieter ways. There's an ashtray by the window, full of almost letting go. Each one burned with patience, each one slow and low. I don't miss you like a fire, I miss you like the rain. Not loud enough to notice, but steady on the pain. I stay dressed like nothing's wrong, kept my voice at normal speed. No one asks the man who's calm what he's trying hard not to feel. I fold my nights into routine, make loneliness look clean. I sweep the floor of memory, so no one sees the scene. You would've said I overthink, I say I just observe. Some people fall apart in public, some do it with reserve. There's an ashtray by the window, and the reflection in the glass. A man who looks like he's moving on, but hasn't moved that fast. I don't replay how you left, I replay who I was before, when love felt less like discipline and silence wasn't law. The street light flickers once, like it's trying to confess. Even light needs rest sometimes from carrying the mess. I don't hate you, I don't reach, I let distance do its work. Some lessons come as absence, some truths are learned in dirt. There's an ashtray by the window, and the night is almost gone. I put out what's left of yesterday and button up my comb. Morning doesn't ask for reasons, it just comes like it always does. I leave the room unchanged again, except for less of us. The man asked for help, he learned early how to stand alone. Tie his wounds where no one knows, a quiet room, a steady face. He wore the weight with measured grace. The nights were long, the lights were low, thoughts moved slow like falling snow. He never raised his voice to pain, just let it echo in his veins. They saw him walk, they saw him smile, Never guessed the hidden miles. He fixed his code, he fixed his name, but left his heart out in the rain. He was a man who never asked for help, built his strength from something else, held the line when words would fail, carried storms he wouldn't tell. Every crack was sealed with pride, every tear stayed trapped inside. He chose the road that no one felt, the man who never asked for help. Blue hours spoke when no one did, reflection showed what he forbid. A mirror knew the cost he paid, for being calm, for being brave. He trusted time more than advice, let silence teach, let scars suffice. No hands reached out, no blame was cast. He learned to breathe beneath the past. There's a kind of loss that shapes a soul, makes you quiet, makes you whole. Not the kind that begs or breaks, but bends and waits and slowly aches. He didn't run, he didn't fight, just held his ground through endless nights. Turned his pain into restraint, turned his blood into restraint. He was the man who never asked for help, found his truth within himself, stood alone but never fell, learned his strength in private help. No applause, no rescue sign, just discipline and borrowed time. He chose the road that no one felt, the man who never asked for help. Now the morning finds him still, not healed but standing by his will. A softer fire behind his eyes, a calm that pain could not deny. He walks forward, quiet, slow, carrying less than he used to hold. Not because the hurt has left, but because he learned to live with what's left. He was the man who never asked for help, and learned the cost and kept himself. It didn't arrive like a warning, no sirens, no raised voice, just a quiet moment of knowing I had made a choice. Some lessons don't announce themselves, they sit beside your day. They wait until you're listening, then show you what won't stay. This wasn't a pain that shouts or begs to be released. It stayed and watched me closely until I learned restraint. The kind of pain that teaches doesn't ask to be seen. It changes how you move through life, how you listen in between. It taught me where I give too much, where I forget my name. How loyalty without direction starts to look like shame. I kept calling it patience, intentions, but it was fear in disguise. The pain stayed quiet long enough to open up my eyes. It showed me what I tolerated and what I called fine. How I traded pieces of myself just to keep the line. The kind of pain that teaches doesn't hurry its case. It lets you repeat the mistake until you recognize. I stopped blaming circumstances, stopped asking who was wrong. The lesson wasn't about them, it was about how long I stayed without being met. How long I held my breath. How long I mistook endurance for death. This pain didn't break my spirit, it redefined my ground. It taught me that silence can speak when you slow down. I learned to listen to discomfort before it turned to loss, to hear the quiet resistance before the cause. The kind of pain that teaches leaves you clearer, not hard. More precise with your energy, more careful with your heart. It doesn't leave you angry or hungry for control. It leaves you aware and whole. Now when something feels familiar but wrong in its tone, I don't argue with the feeling. I've learned what it's shown. The kind of pain that teaches isn't cruel or unkind. It's the part of life that respects you enough to refine. I didn't break, I withdrew. They said I changed like something snapped, like I couldn't take the strain. But nothing shattered in me, I just stepped away from pain. I didn't fall apart in public, didn't give the damage names. I closed the door without a sound and stayed the same. I watched the noise from a distance, let the chaos choose someone else. Some people call it giving up, I call it choosing myself. I didn't break, I withdrew. There's a difference you don't see. I kept my shape by stepping back from what was breaking me. I learned that staying costs too much when silence starts to weigh. Sometimes strength looks like retreat for your own sake. I stopped explaining why I left or proving I was strong. I learned you don't owe answers to places you outgrow. I didn't disappear in fear, I reappeared inside, found a quieter version of me. that never lied. I didn't break, I withdrew. I chose distance over scars. I stepped away from open wounds and learned my parts. I let the fire burn without me, let the arguments run dry. Some battles end a moment you refuse to reply. I folded pride into my coat and left it by the door. Walked out with less than I came in, but lighter than before. They thought I lost momentum, mistook calm for decline. But healing doesn't always climb, sometimes it's sidelines. I didn't break, I withdrew and learned how to repair. Not everything is fixed by force, some things by air. I breathe now without pressure, sleep without pretending. The quiet didn't weaken me, it taught me ending. I didn't leave because I couldn't. I left because I could. Because survival isn't loud, it's understood. Now I stand a step removed, still whole, still true. I didn't break, I withdrew. I speak in lines that don't shake, keep my tone where it belongs. Every word is carefully chosen, so nothing sounds too wrong. I learned early how to soften the edges of my breath, how to let my voice stay steady while my chest holds the weight. People say I sound composed, like nothing's out of place. They don't hear the silence behind the calm in my face. Calm voice, heavy chest, that's how I learned to stay. Sound like I'm untouched by it all, while carrying yesterday. I don't raise questions in public, I don't lean into the noise. Some battles lose their meaning when you give them a voice. There's pressure in polite replies and nods that mean I'm fine. In moments where I choose restraint over drawing a line, I answer calls with measured breath, pause just long enough so no one hears the echo of what feels like too much. Calm voice, heavy chest, breathing slow, standing tall. No one sees the weight I carry because I don't let it fall. I move through rooms like nothing's wrong. calculated to keep myself from me. I don't confuse control with peace or silence with relief. I just know how to hold the storm without breaking belief. The chest remembers everything, the nights, the almost, the loss, the things that never made it out but still demand a cause. I rest my hand where it's heaviest, like I can keep it still, not to fix what's underneath, just to prove I will. Calm voice, heavy chest, it isn't strength or fear. It's survival with manners, it's choosing to stay clear. I don't look for understanding or ask to be undone. I've learned how to sound okay until the day is done. When the room finally empties and my voice has nothing left, I sit with what I didn't say. Calm, heavy beat, heavy beat, breathy. Calm voice, heavy chest, still standing in the end. Not because it's easy, but because I can. There's no one clapping in the room, no eyes to mark the change. Just quiet days rearranging me in ways that feel strange. I didn't announce the breaking point or draw a line in sand. I simply stopped bleeding outward and started where I stand. Some mornings hurt without a reason, some nights heal without a sign. Recovery doesn't knock the door, it slips in over time. Healing without witnesses, no record, no reply, just me learning how to carry less. Each time I pass myself by, I don't post the progress, I don't frame the scars. I let improvement stay invisible, like distant stars. I learned not every victory needs a voice or proof. Some strength is built in silence and held like truth. There were days I almost reached out just to hear my name, but I stayed with the discomfort and let it change my shape. I stopped explaining tired eyes, stopped asking to be seen. There's relief in knowing you don't know the world you're healing. Yeah, healing without witnesses means no one knows the cost of the nights I stayed present with everything I lost. No before and after moment, no sudden light, just fewer battles in my head each quiet night. I forgave myself slowly, without ceremony. I let go of the version of me that needed company. Pain didn't vanish dramatically. It loosened its hold, like winter leaving traces in the shape of cold. Now I walk a little lighter, not because I forgot, but because I carry long enough what couldn't be told. Healing without witnesses isn't lonely all the way. It teaches you to trust yourself, to stay. Finish line or call myself new. I honor every quiet step that no one knew. If strength had a sound, it would be this calm. A steady breath, a steady palm. Healing without witnesses, still healing all the same. And that's enough. That's a name. That's a name. There's a room I never opened, still arranged the way you left. Chairs turned toward each other like they're waiting to confess. The air feels thick with sentences that never found a sound. Thoughts suspended mid-breath, careful not to hit the ground. Every wall remembers pauses, every corner knows my name. Silence isn't empty here, it's carefully arranged. I walk slow through the quiet, like it might start to speak, but all it does is listen to the things I couldn't keep. A room full of unsaid words, hanging heavy, soft and still. Every truth I chose to swallow, every yes I turned to will. I learned how not to argue by learning how to wait. Some conversations never happen, they just change your way. Your coat still holds its shape somehow, like absence learned to stand. Time didn't take it with him, it just loosened my hand. I don't replay the arguments, I replay the calm, the moments when we both knew, but chose to stay numb. There's a dignity in leaving things unfinished, unexplained. Not everything deserves a voice, some things just need restraint. A room full of unsaid words, no blame, no closing scene, just a quiet understanding of what we didn't mean. I sit down with the memory, not to fix, not to beg, just to let it be what it was before it quietly fled. I used to think expression was the only way to heal. unsaid words isn't heavy all the time. Sometimes it feels like mercy, sometimes like borrowed time. I turn the light off gently, like respect still matters here. Some endings don't need closure, they just need to disappear. I close the door behind me, not in anger, not in fear, just leaving what was never said exactly where it is. A room full of unsaid words, and I finally let it stay. Learning to breathe alone. The room feels bigger than it was. Now that your shadow's gone, every sound is extra space. Every night goes on. I used to measure time by you, by footsteps by the door. Now I count the seconds slowly, like I've never done before. I wake up reaching for the quiet, like it might answer back. There's a weight in empty mornings that no habit seems to crack. Learning to breathe alone without your name in my chest. Inhaling what is left of me, exhaling all the rest. I thought silence was the enemy, but it's just an honest friend. It shows you where you're standing when nothing's there to bend. I move through rooms more carefully, like glasses on the floor. Every memory is fragile, every wall remembers more. I don't rush the missing feeling, I let it have its say. Some things need space to loosen before they fade away. Learning to breathe alone, one breath at a time. Teaching my heart new rhythm, teaching my hands new time. I don't fill the night with noise or reach for a bottle of light. I sit with what is unfinished until it feels less tight. The mirror shows a quieter man, still here but rearranged. Not broken, not the same, just slowly being changed. I fold your absence into days, like it belongs somehow. Not as something to replace, but something I allow. Learning to breathe alone without asking why. Accepting that some chapters end without a sign. I used to think survival meant running from the ache. Now I know it means staying and choosing not to break. The lungs learn patience first before the heart can heal. Breath becomes a promise of what is still real. Learning to breathe running too long. Tonight I open the window, let the dark move through. I breathe in something unfamiliar and let it be true. Learning to breathe alone and still choosing to stay. It didn't happen all at once. There was no sound, no breaking glass, just a quiet shift inside my chest, like something heavy chose to pass. I was standing when it happened, still wearing yesterday's resolve. The ground didn't rush to meet me, it simply stopped being solid. No one heard the fall, because I never hit the floor. I learned how to bend without collapsing, how to close an unseen door. The world kept its rhythm, traffic lights, familiar faces. I kept pace with the ordinary while losing parts in private places. I answered calls with steady breath, showed up dressed in normal tone. No one notices the moment when survival turns to stone. I didn't cry out for attention, didn't ask the dark to stay. Some losses don't arrive as storms, they fade the light away. No one heard the fall. There was no echo, no demand, just a man rearranging himself so he could still stand. I learned the art of quiet damage, of wounds that don't insist, how to carry disappointment without making a list. Even mirrors were convinced that I was holding shape. I practiced looking untouched, like nothing needed escape. But something cracked beneath the calm, a subtle giving way. Not enough to draw concern, just enough to change the day. No one heard the fall, because it sounded just like time. Another second passing through, another reason to be fine. Feels obscene. The fall taught me balance, oh, taught me where not to lean. Oh, that time sometimes means living between. Now I walk with measured steps on ground I don't fully trust, still upright, still composed, still built from quiet dust. No one heard the fall, and that's the point. Some battles aren't remembered, but they keep the body joint. I didn't rise with victory, I rose with understanding that falling doesn't always show, and standing is demanding. No word of fall, but I did, and I stayed. Suit still on at midnight. Suit still on at midnight. Tie loose shoes by the door. I didn't plan on staying out this late, I didn't plan on much anymore. The room smells like tomorrow, and the past won't leave me alone. I lean against the silence like it's something I was lone. I played the part all evening, said the right thing at the right time, smiled just enough to pass as someone doing fine. The mirror knows the truth though, it always takes a second look. A man dressed like he's going places, standing still like he's been shook. So still on at midnight, no witness, no applause. I held myself together by following invisible laws. I don't undo the buttons like I'm afraid of what I feel. As long as I stay assembled, everything stays real. I learned to move with pressure, make exhaustion look composed, carry everything I lost in the way my shoulders close. Phones light up with nothing, just reminders I exist. I swipe away the noise and let the quiet insist. There's comfort in routine now, in the weight of what I wear. It reminds me I'm still standing, even if I'm not going anywhere. Suit still on at midnight, the city breathing slow, windows glowing like decisions I didn't choose. But no, I replay conversations, not what was said, but what was meant. The pauses told the story more than any compliment. I don't drink to forget you, I drink to slow the clock. Some feelings need permission before they're safe to unlock. I hang my jacket carefully, like respect still matters here. Even alone I keep the code I built across the years. Suit still on at midnight. Morning waiting down the hall. I'll face it like I face everything, standing straight, not saying much at all. When daylight finds me quiet, still dressed for something more, I'll step out like nothing's missing, then close the door. I didn't slam the door behind me, didn't raise my voice to leave. I learned some exits matter more than what you make them mean. There were words I could have used, sharp enough to scar the air, but I chose a quieter ending out of respect for what was there. I packed my things with steady hand, left the room the way I found it. Some departures don't need damage to prove you really meant it. Smoke to mark the sky. I didn't need destruction, just space to walk my line. I didn't stay to win an argument or lose myself to pride. I knew the cost of standing still was heavier inside. I thank the silence for its lesson, even when they came too late. Not every chapter ends in peace. Some end in measured space. I didn't rewrite history or pretend it wasn't real. I just stopped asking it for more than it could feel. I left without burning bridges because fire blinds the view. I wanted to remember clearly what I learned from you. There's dignity in clean departures, in leaving things intact, and knowing when to step away without attacking back. I didn't need your apology or one last perfect line. I chose to carry understanding instead of wasting time. Some people leave in anger, some leave chasing relief. I left with self-respect intact and nothing left to prove. I left without burning bridges, so I could walk ahead, unchained by unfinished wars or words I never said. I didn't poison what we built or curse the days before. I honored what had meaning by not asking for more. Now when I cross familiar streets, there's no weight in my chest, because I didn't leave in pieces. I left at my best. I don't look back with bitterness or wish it ended loud. I left without burning bridges, and I'm proud I left without burning bridges, and I'm proud. He didn't rush the aftermath, didn't dramatize the loss. He stood still long enough to understand the cause. There was no public turning point, no vow made out loud, just a quiet agreement with himself, away from the crowd. He folded the past with care, not to erase but to learn. Some things are meant to be fixed, only earned. A gentleman rebuilds himself without noise, without display, brick by brick in solitude, day by day. He didn't borrow confidence or wear a borrowed face. He chose discipline over comfort and patience over haste. He cleaned the rooms inside his mind, open windows, let light in, not to forget where he had been, but to decide who enters again. He learned that dignity is built in moments no one sees, and how you speak to yourself on your knees. A gentleman rebuilds himself, not to be admired or known, but to stand steady, even when alone. He replaced resentment with clarity, replaced regret with time. He stopped chasing explanations and focused on alignment. He studied his own reactions like a language to refine. Learn where to draw the line and why the line was mine. He dressed his wounds with routine, with sleep, with breath, with truth. He didn't call it healing, he called it returning to youth. A gentleman rebuilds himself by choosing what remains, by carrying the lesson, not the pain. He doesn't speak of what he survived unless it serves a room. He lets his presence answer questions he no longer assumes. There's a calm that comes from knowing you don't need to prove repair, when your posture, pace, and silence already declared. Now he walks without urgency, without armor, without fear, not untouched by what he lived, but no longer ruled by it either. A gentleman rebuilds himself and doesn't ask for praise. He knows who he became was worth the day. Letters I never sent back, they stayed stacked in a drawer. Edges worn by time, words I wrote in quiet hours, crossed out line by line. Every letter had a heartbeat, every pause a choice. I kept rewriting honesty until it lost its voice. I sealed them with restraint, not wax, not pride, just the understanding that some truths don't need a ride. Letters I never sent back, not because I didn't care, but because some answers only deepen what's there. I read them when the nights get slow, when memory feels thin. Not to reopen anything, just to remember who I've been. Some pages held apologies, some held firm goodbyes, some just asked the simple things I was afraid to try. I learned silence is grammar, it knows when to end. Sometimes the kindest response is the one you don't send. Letters I never sent back, carrying weight without sound. They taught me closure doesn't always come wrapped and bound. I folded up my questions, let them age in ink, gave them time to lose their urgency and learn how not to sing. I stopped asking for recognition or words to make it right. Some conversations end best when they stay eternal light. I don't regret the writing, it kept me alive. It let me say everything without crossing a line. Letters I never sent back are quieter now. They don't ask to be answered, they just sit somehow. They remind me I felt deeply but chose control, that not every emotion needs to reach its goal. Now the drawer closes gently, no right, no demand. I made peace with the echo of what stayed in my hand. Some messages are meant to heal the writer, not the room. Some endings don't need witnesses or proof. Letters I never sent back still taught me how to speak, by teaching me when silence isn't weak.